All right. Hello, J.MAK students, and welcome to MAK.STERS by J.MAK. Thank you for being here with us today to learn all about one of our newest J.MAK partners, Heli, with our hosts, Tom and Ben. For those that don't know me, I'm Meg Crosby, hospitality personality at J.MAK based in Raleigh, North Carolina. We also have Dolores, who is on our team. Where are you, Dolores? Are you in Barcelona? Are you in Switzerland? Where's she at?
In Barcelona, just came back.
Barcelona. Perfect. So you know how to reach us and the rest of our team at J.MAK is to email hi@jmak.com for questions about Heli or any of our partners. Today, after the presentation, we'll open up the floor for a brief Q&A session. And our next MAK.STERS session will be on Tuesday, August 27th, same time, same place with Sage Lodge. You can view all of our upcoming events and more by visiting the events page on jmak.com. Thank you for your continued support. And without further ado, I'll turn it over to Ben and to Tom.
Awesome. Thanks, Meg. Thank you, Dolores. Thanks, J.MAK, for hosting this. Excited to meet everyone and chat about some adventure here. Ben is going to do the honors and so I'm our head of adventures here at Heli. That really is effectively our head of sales and our head of all, agent outreach that we do. Ben is helping us out on the business development side. And so I'm involved as well. And so Ben, I think, is going to do the honors of sharing screen for me here. We have a quick deck I can run you all through. Feel free to raise a hand and ask a question sort of at any time and keep this super casual, but I'll try to get through our deck here in 20 minutes or so, and then we can answer some questions about adventure.
Cool. I will share my screen in a second, but Tom, I've watched enough of these MAK.STERS to know that sometimes it's helpful. I will brag for you because you're too humble. Before joining Heli, Tom spent a decade at 11 Experiences. He dates back to being a river guide. He can look at a picture and know exactly where in the world you are based on which way the moss is growing and all that good stuff. I was a tour operator and have been on the operator side. I've also been on the software side, building tools for those different forms of operators. So I think between both of us, we've probably been in travel for 30 or so years. And without further ado, I will stop talking and share. Sorry, I was channeling my inner John at J.MAK. He'll slap me when I.
Great job. He loves you.
Okay. Okay.
Awesome. Yeah. So Heli, we create custom adventure experiences, travel experiences around the world. We take an expert approach to our travel and to our itinerary design, our adventure design, as we would call it. And so for all the different sport verticals where we represent trips, we employ and I manage a team of experts. And so we have heli ski experts, snowboarding experts, kite surfing experts, mountain bike, you name it. When you call in and if your clients are interested in a trip in any of those sports, they're speaking to someone who knows these activities through and through. We don't do the, typical vacation. We are more like, the high-end adventure experiences and a lot of we excel at complex logistics and deep itineraries where, if someone wants to go on a surf trip, we're not just setting the client up with the villa, we are setting them up with the villa and then also lining up the best surf, instructor and doing, everything from wellness services to a private chef and all of those things. Yeah, Ben, you can advance. Thanks. So on our experts, we have a team of dedicated experts for every adventure category. We have relationships with hundreds of relationships around the world with the best operators and hotels and other things we were talking about, like chefs and photographers and athletes and all of these this cast of characters that we bring into these experiences. And so, we have this last point here, we do have experience executing everything. We sell plenty of, $10,000 and $15,000 surf trips, but we also have a real sweet spot executing on world-class custom itineraries, anywhere from, 100K up to $1 million, and have run trips anywhere in length of 3 days to a month and a half on one trip. So that's kind of where we sit in the market, and kind of what we do, and really how we positioned ourselves to a lot of travel agents is we've heard that when a lot of you get these calls where someone all of a sudden, one of your clients who's been, I don't know, doing a trip to Europe and then a trip to, wherever else, and they come in and they're like, hey, I want to go heli skiing, or I want to go fly fishing or something, that there's a lot of like, oh man, we got to find somebody that knows something about fly fishing, and a little bit of like, that's a little bit of an alarm bell. And so our positioning to TAs is we kind of take all of that off of your plate, where you have a one-stop shop to contact us, and I have someone on my staff or myself know a ton about fly fishing or heli skiing or whatever it is, and can help guide you through that sale with your customer to make you look good and to get your customer on the best possible trip. I covered our experts pretty through here, but yeah, we have, a lot of our experts are some of them are former professional athletes. Some of them are, have been instructors or guides in some of these sports. And so our approach has really been taking, people that know the sports well first, and turning them into our customer service representatives or our, agents on our front, as opposed to taking travel people and trying to train them up on all of these sports. And there's none of our experts who cover more than, right now, 2 different verticals. So for instance, we have one expert, Jake, who is a surf expert and a kite expert, but he is not trying to cover the full spectrum that you see here on the screen. He stays very focused on surf and ski is Jake's deal. And then we have another expert, Ian, who is just strictly kite. And a couple others that, dabble in the other sports. So these are our major verticals here up on the screen. When you're thinking of any of these sports, you want to be thinking of heli, right? So if you have a customer that comes into you and says, I want to do a mountain bike trip or a kite trip or a surf trip, we're your go-to. Okay. A little bit of kind of how we work. There's been some other companies in this space who have tried, I think, some of this, especially with TAs, a couple of notorious ones, especially in the surf genre. And so, we are in this, heli is in this for the long haul. We are here, we want to build deep travel advisor relationships. And like I said earlier, we want to show up super well for you so that you can show up well for your clients. And we want this to be a long-term relationship. And so we've made this commitment here to, well, number one, we will not steal your clients. Number two, if your clients do return to us for whatever reason to book directly, we'll always inform you. Inside of 2 years, we would pay you out a full commission on their booking, as if you brought the booking to us directly. And outside of 2 years, let's say if it's 5 years down the road and your client happens to contact us direct, we will certainly try to get in touch with you, see if that's still your client, and then discuss their referral fee as needed. And we're open to tweaking this a little bit. We just had one partner, a travel agent partner that we signed a partnership with, that they wanted something a little bit different. But in general, like, these are the terms that we're throwing out here, and want to just make it clear that, we're in this to support travel agents and not looking to, try to flip your clients onto our roster. Cool. All right, our quoting and economics. So we operate in this world where we're a little bit like, we're kind of like a DMC, but it could be a little confusing to you all, because we also have our, online marketplace, heli.life, where we list a bunch of these things. And so we have 2 different ways that we work with TAs. We have expert consultation, and then we have custom adventure design, right? And so in bullet point number 1 here, expert consultation, this is, where, for instance, on a simple trip, you have a client that's like, hey, I want to go to Costa Rica. I'm looking for the hotel that is, the best located with surfing at the forefront. So you want to be able to walk out of the hotel and walk right onto the best surf break in Costa Rica. That's a pretty simple, like, consultation with an expert, we call it, where we're really just recommending either a hotel, or maybe pairing a hotel with a surf operator, whatever it may be. And so those we can turn around in 24 to 48 hours. We extend our expert to either, they can just deal with you as the travel advisor directly, Or if you would like to loop them in with your client, we're open to doing that as well. And as a third option, if you want to just strictly hand it off to us and get the commission on the back end, we're happy to do that as well. So kind of all three, happy to have the advisor involved in any way that they want to be involved. And on those, we pay a 10% commission. And can offer either net rates or commission, however you want us to structure that, but it's a 10% commission. Okay. Custom adventure design. So this is usually a week plus. These are the so Ben gave a little bit of my background. I worked at 11 Experience, and then I was recruited out of 11 Experience to work for a company called Stokebroker, where at Stokebroker, we did a pretty much exclusively custom adventure design for ultra high net worth individuals, really like almost exclusively like Fortune 50 families. And so our custom adventure design background kind of comes from that Stokebroker work. And this is where, the clients come to us with either a longer trip idea or some sort of a dream or like a milestone birthday, or they want to take their entire family down the Grand Canyon or something like that. And we go to work on designing a full experience and full itinerary from end to end. We're going to give a couple of examples of these coming up. But these are situations where a lot of times heli will have some staff or members of our athlete and expert / ninja, we call them the ninjas, but like ninja network, where I have people all over the world that we've built relationships with through our work at Stokebroker that I can parachute into these experiences to be either drivers or fixers or, whatever photographers and kayak guides and all kinds of folks that we can bring in on these experiences. And so there's usually a little bit of a mix of the hospitality properties or the lodging properties, and then us supplementing that with local guide services and local people, and then maybe even sprinkling in a couple of our kind of ninjas as well to make sure that there's a smooth experience end to end. I think a great example of that is we ran a trip in Chile where we had a yacht go down the coast of Chile, and the clients were heli skiing and heli fishing and heli hiking and all these different things off the yacht. There was probably 10 different operators or 10 different activity operators involved in that. But the clients had one point of contact while they're on the boat, and that was a heli host or a heli person who was on the boat, who was their, essentially their experience manager or the person managing that experience. So that they had one person running that entire experience, and we were managing all those 10 or 15 contractors on the ground. On these more custom deployments, we can raise the commission rate, right? And so it really depends on what the split is between how much we're bringing to the table and how many traditional lodging properties we're using, but usually we can pay more than 10% on those. All right, some exciting stuff. So here's some examples of some adventures that we've been putting on. So kiteboarding, kite surfing is a huge vertical for us, one of our main verticals. And so this is just an experience in the Turks and Caicos. It's a, villa. You can see right there on the upper right, left-hand photo there that there is, the villa is right on the beach, right at the kite spot. We work with the best instructors, and we also have like a local company that can do like wake surfing and even like sea turtle tours and all kinds of things. But the entire experience is based out of a villa that is in the right place at the right time. And when a client comes to us and they're like, hey, I want to go, we tell people all the time, like people come to us and say, hey, I want to go to the Turks and Caicos in, I don't know, like November for Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is typically like a little bit of a wind hole in the Turks and Caicos. And so the wind is not as reliable then as it is other times a year. And so part of our custom adventure design and also our service is using our experts to kind of inform you on when the best time would be. And our pitch is to try to get people on the right time at the right place with the right conditions and the right people. So yeah, that's our Turks and Caicos kite experience. It's 5 days based out of a private villa, starting right around like $4,600 a person.
Tom, can I make you double click on that and lob you a softball? Like,
yeah,
I just know from speaking to some advisors that the moment that all of us are trying to avoid is a client saying, oh, I don't want to curse on these things, but the S word, and like standing down on skis, looking at terrain, nobody wants that feeling for their client, and no one wants that feeling for themselves. So part of the expert value proposition is that they know the terrain. They know specifically not just the terrain that is skiable, or in this, in this slide, kiteable, but what the wind is going to be like, what the elevation is going to be like in the slope. Like, is it tending to be whiteout conditions? They want to take the time to be like, are you a, I don't think no beginner skiers are really backcountry skiing, but there's certainly intermediate terrain that is backcountry. So that's a big part of what the experts do, is sort of fit folks to their needs and desires. I know I was going to ask you a question and I just started talking for 2 minutes, but yeah, like that's a big part of this in working with TAs.
Yeah, professional guides would call it like out terraining your client, right? And I think like maybe raft guides would call it sandbagging your client. And so we try not to sandbag people, and so like, for instance, in the kiting world, like you can kite all over the world, right? But there are definitely better spots to learn kiting, like the Turks and Caicos or Outer Banks, where it's like shallow water, warm water, reliable wind, versus like a lot of people be like, oh, I've heard Maui's great, but then you go to Maui and there's like gigantic waves and like it's a less of a friendly environment. And so part of our expert service is trying to make sure that, we don't get your client in over their head where they're then having a negative reaction to the trip because you booked it for them. Because we put them in the wrong place at the wrong time. So part of that. Thanks, Ben. Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of components, right? And I think with our travel advisors, not only, I feel like, a lot of their clients, new clients perhaps, think that they know every single hotel product in the world, which isn't true. They know the right people to get them to the right places, right? And that's the same thing I feel like with heli. It's not that the travel advisor is going to know the exact places to go surfing in, Indonesia in rainy season. They know who to talk to be able to get the most idyllic kind of situations.
Yeah, totally. And I think on top of that too, like if you were like, anybody can Google like kiting in the Turks and Caicos and try to find one of the 5 schools there that do it. If you're going on a trip with heli, we know these operators, we've likely been there, and we're going to listen to what the makeup of the group is and understand who they are. And then if it's a bunch of, if it's a hard charging like bachelor party, we're probably going to put you with Jay, the kite instructor in the Turks and Caicos. But if it's like a family learning how to kite, we're probably going to put you with like Joe and Mary, who are other instructors there who are like better with kids and better with families and more on that vibe. And so like we try to not only understand these places, but also understand the people that bring them to life and match that appropriately with your client.
The hospitality personalities, if you will.
I'll go with Jay. It sounds like I need to go kite surfing with Jay.
Absolutely. Yeah. But Jay's the one who kind of shuts down the bar. So if that's what you're looking to do, then you want to go with Jay. In a professional way.
Or non-professional, it's fine.
Yeah. All right. So Silvestre, this is a new property in Costa Rica. I love this property. It's in Nosara, steps away. You literally walk out the front door and hang a left and you walk just straight onto the beach to one of the best breaks in Costa Rica. There's a lot of new hotel development in that area. I'm sure you all are familiar. But this one kind of, fits our mold as like more of a boutique property. I think they have 6 units in there that are available and up to 18 guests. But a lot of what we do, especially, this is expert guidance, pretty simple, but it can easily be an entire family takedown of Silvestre or a group of friends, or we do a lot of trips like that where it's like, hey, my guys group wants to go, or my girls group wants to go learn surfing in Costa Rica, and we put that together. And so this is a low-hanging fruit property for that. Really approachable price point. Has a lot of things in Costa Rica, like $2,500-$2,600 all in. Made in November, easy flights. And an absolutely beautiful property. And so to our point before, this is where we understand who the group is. We try to match you with the best surf instructor that we know down there, or surf instruction company, and run that end to end. Oh, we lost. Couldn't get through without at least one technical difficulty. All right, Japan. Let's talk about Japan. I'm sure almost everyone has heard something about this because it's inescapable in the travel world right now, but especially in adventure travel. But Japan has been up and coming for years as a ski destination. Japanuary is a lot of times the term. Like in January, the snow just goes off there, and it's a really desirable time of year to be there and skiing. Deep powder onsens, which are their, Japanese hot springs, the food and the culture and everything. And so we actually just launched this slide. We could probably do some updates to this slide, but we launched a residency, or what we're calling a heli hosted trip in Japan this year. I helped design that program, and we've taken down 4 weeks at a high-end condo complex, the entire floor of a condo complex in Niseko. And we've arranged everything, the guides, the airport transportation, can arrange meals and wellness services and all of that for like the perfect powder week in Japan. And so that's kind of an interesting wrinkle that we started doing recently, where we're doing these hosted trips that are sort of a set departure. We've committed to inventory. When heli's there, it's going to be good, is kind of the saying. But we have also sold dozens and dozens of, families or friend groups looking to go to Japan and ski the deepest powder of their lives. And we're very familiar with all the different lodging options there and the guides and everything involved in that. So that is Japan powder skiing. Grand Canyon private charters. We actually have a couple of these going out in the next month. We're like coming into Grand Canyon season. And so, we have done everything from, putting just a couple of people on the Grand Canyon to this one is a custom adventure design on the Grand Canyon, where, like, similar to Stockbroker's work, we've put some, Fortune 50 families and business owners down there with groups of 20 people with private chefs and DJs and bluegrass musicians and all kinds of things down in the Grand Canyon. Usually this is one of our like signature products, and is like one where we have, even the most discerning people come off and say that was the absolute best experience of my life. Getting availability in the Grand Canyon, even though there are a lot of outfitters, is pretty tough, even especially for a private charter. And so a private charter trip means that you are down there with 20 of your people, and you have a complete private charter of that trip. And so we specialize in those, and I have relationships with all of the operators, and kind of know, this one is the one that's a little bit better for kids, and this is the one that'll let us customize a little bit more and is willing to put a private chef, or willing to take a massage table down there so that we can give massages after a day on the river and all those things. And so we've run these anywhere from $5,000 a person to got several Grand Canyon trips in multiple 6 figures that we've run for people. For entire groups. So that is the Grand Canyon. Whistler mountain biking. Whistler is a super hot destination for mountain biking. One of the angles there. So we didn't mention about our brand, but obviously heli is our brand name, but heli skiing and heli biking and all those things. Not everything that we do, as you've seen in the presentation here, involves helicopters. But it's kind of where we started, and we've grown out from there. And so Whistler does have a heli biking product, which is super unique, where you can load mountain bikes onto the heli and they fly you to the top of a mountain, and you spend like a couple hours descending this almost like private trail that's been developed by this operator to go down the mountain. And so we do everything in Whistler from, we know the hotels that are best located to the trail systems and the guides, and we line people out. A lot of times people will fly to Whistler without their bikes or without their equipment. And so we're arranging bike rentals and the guides and the entire thing. And so that's Whistler biking. Eagle Pass heli skiing. This one's in here specifically because it's a great example of where clients have been sandbagged or out-terrained in the past. Eagle Pass is in the Monashi Mountains in British Columbia, right outside of Revelstoke. It is some of the most incredible terrain in that area. But it really, you know, it's one of those places where you want to be a strong skier, probably intermediate to expert. If you have a private helicopter, you can kind of do whatever you want. But if you're joining a mixed group, or if you're, you know, only taking half the lodge or whatever it may be, you want to be an expert to make sure that you can ski some of the terrain that you're seeing on the screen here. They've got the steep pillow lines and spines and all of those things. And so there's been many, you know, there's been many situations in the past where a client comes to us and they're like, I just saw the latest, you know, Warren Miller or TGR or whatever it is movie, and I want to go heli skiing. And what we, instead of selling those clients one heli ski trip, we actually end up selling them like 2 or 3 heli ski trips, because we explain to them that like heli skiing is a progression, right? And you want to, like, maybe for your first heli trip, you want to spend a little bit, you know, less money, but you want to go to a place where you can learn heli skiing, and maybe you just want to do like a single day and make sure you're okay with the helicopters, whatever it may be. And we want to work you up to something like Eagle Pass, which is like a bucket list experience, and make sure that your skiing ability is there and that you know how to exit and enter the helicopter and do all the things. And so with a lot of these sports, we end up taking someone's, you know, dream and setting them on the correct path, where it's like, this is where you should learn how to surf, and this is where you should go surf when you finally are ready and you want to get barreled or tubed, as you say. If you're watching the Olympics, you saw a lot of people getting barreled. Yeah, that's Eagle Pass heli skiing. Starts at $1,600 a person, up to 12 guests. Go ahead, Ben.
There was a question in the chat that you're kind of the perfect person to answer. Someone said, what is your favorite heli skiing experience around, like anywhere in the world? I'm interpreting the question.
I can be a little biased sometimes because I've had a hand in developing some really incredible ones. And so it's kind of a toss up between, I worked for 11 Experience for almost 10 years. And, you know, Depler Farm is a hard one to beat in Iceland. Not only is it an incredible property, but it's just like incredible heli terrain. And while it's not always like deep powder skiing, it's, you know, being able to ski all the way down to the ocean and literally click out of your skis on like a cobble beach, like right next to the water, is a pretty unique thing that you don't get to do many places. And so I love that one. Other heli things that I love, some of the unique things too, like some yacht-based heli stuff that we've done in the past for some private groups on like some big 40th or 50th birthdays. Did one of those in Iceland, did another one of those in Chile. And we've had several of those where, like, you know, guests have been the first people to ever ski a line and actually like name that run, which is super cool.
So wait, yacht-based heli skiing? I'm genuinely asking. I'm not just peppering this.
Yeah.
Like, you're staying on a yacht in Iceland, like a helicopter lands on
The yacht.
a yacht in some cases, and then it flies you up and you go heli skiing for the day.
Yep.
That might be luxury I will never touch unless yeah, that's incredible. Oh,
Yeah,
another question. What spots do you recommend for first-time heli skiers?
Great. Yeah. There's a ton for first-time heli skiers. British Columbia is really great for first-time heli people for a number of reasons. Number one, the terrain in British Columbia allows for, there's like multiple options usually on any day to fly, where there's a lot of, for Iceland, for instance, when it's storming in Iceland, you know, helicopters operate on line of sight, and the heli pilots need to be able to see the landings to put people on the landings to go heli skiing. And so if you can't see, you can't fly the helicopter, and it's what we call in the industry a down day, where you're not skiing. British Columbia has a lot of low elevation tree skiing, where they have a lot of landings cut into the hillsides of these mountains, where when there is a fog, like there normally is in British Columbia, they can operate either below or above the fog and like kind of work through the weather and get people out skiing more. And a lot of that lower elevation terrain lends itself really well to like learning how to heli ski, learning how to powder ski, and all of that. My true answer would be, for like mechanized skiing, a lot of times I recommend that people go cat skiing first before they try to pick off heli skiing, because snowcat skiing, it's a lot less hectic. Like when you're doing an unloading or loading into a helicopter, it's kind of like everybody's there in the guide, and it's like go go go, and like make sure that you're in the helicopter and you're loading everything efficient. Like cat skiing, you can like just mosey your way out of the cat and like slowly unload your skis, and it's a lot more of a chill pace. And cat skiing is never really impacted by weather. So it's good to like kind of use cat skiing as like the gateway drug into heli skiing.
Awesome. Meg, am I like stealing your thunder by reading some of these questions that are popping up, or is this a good?
Be kind. You're doing great, my man. Keep it up.
Okay.
Thanks, Ben.
All right, Tom, cool if I keep a few of these rolling. We have some good questions in the
Yeah,
chat.
throw them through. Sure.
So I'm going from in chronological order. So do you offer canyoneering? If so, what are the best destinations you offer for this?
Yeah, absolutely. Canyoneering, Moab, Utah, Zion National Park, probably two of the best locations. We just had an incredible family trip where they actually included both. And so they started up in the Moab area and then traversed the state of Utah down to the Zion area, and did like incredible, like, 200-foot free hanging rappels, like into pools of water in the canyon through the red rocks. Like Utah is definitely the place for canyoneering. And we obviously sell those trips and handle that end to end and know all the best spots and best guides.
Nice. And then question from Sonny McBride, by the way, coolest name I've ever heard potentially. What I don't know what her J.MAK name is, but maybe I'll ask that question in the chat. Okay, so Sonny says, how do you deal with mixed level groups? Do you have alternatives for group activities? Great question.
Absolutely, yeah. So it kind of depends on every heli ski lodge and product, and everything is different, and they deal with mixed abilities and mixed groups differently. The short answer is, if you have a mixed group with mixed abilities, it's usually best to do either a full like helicopter buyout or a full lodge buyout, because for instance, like if you had two beginner skiers who were to just purchase 2 seats at a heli lodge, and then they're hopping on a helicopter with 2 or 6 other people, depending on what helicopter we're using, like if those in heli skiing, there's a little bit of like pressure, because if you are the person who's a beginner and you're falling a lot, then you're holding up everybody else in that helicopter. And you're like, it's kind of like they're not getting as much skiing because they're waiting for the guides to help you up and put your gear back on and do all those things. And so it's a way more chill environment to try to do that with a group of your friends who don't care. And that is when you want to get a private helicopter. So if you go with 4 of your friends and you're the only 4 people in the helicopter, it doesn't matter if you're falling all over the place and you don't have that pressure and you don't have all that stuff. And so that is the easiest way to deal with mixed abilities skiing wise. At cat ski operations, and even at heli operations as well, sorry, a lot of times there will be like, depending on the guide setup, you can get to the top and there could be like 2 potential paths down. So like at a lot of the cat ski areas, they groom the roads on the cat ski area. And so the like, half of the family could be skiing powder, deep powder, but then like the other half of the family could be skiing on like a groomed like corduroy, like similar to a ski trail at a ski mountain, back down to the base, and you can meet at the bottom. And then alternatives for group activities. Yeah. So like not only down days, but also just people get tired sometimes heli skiing, and it really depends on the property and depends where it's located. For instance, a lot of the Revelstoke stuff is really close to Revelstoke. And so it's easy to pop into Revelstoke and do a town day, or go over to the hot springs, or ski the resort, or do something like that. And we can help facilitate all of that. And then, some of the 11 properties, especially like Depler Farm, they have every down day activity known to man, like surfing on the Arctic Circle and a music studio and like all of the things. And so like it's, some people enjoy the activities there that are not heli skiing more than they enjoy the heli skiing. So there's everything to do there. But there are, and this is part of like expert guidance, but like there are some lodges where it's like you're flying into the middle of Alaska and the only thing to really do is heli ski. And if you're not heli skiing, you're like drinking beers and playing ping pong in the lodge, waiting for the weather to clear so you can go heli skiing.
Awesome. Meg, how much time do we have? Just because I want to, there's some more questions.
We have some really good questions. So I would like
cool.
to ask these for sure.
All right, awesome. Tom, you ready for the gauntlet to keep firing?
Yeah, hit it.
Okay, so if they don't want to, presumably this is about like a heli biking or a mountain biking trip, if they don't want to ship their bike, can you get them a brand they want, like a $13,000? Like, can we get them a high-end quality bike that they want?
Yeah, it really just depends on the local availability, depends on the location. Like, for instance, if you were to go, I'll use Moab again as an example, there's probably 10 bike shops in Moab representing every single brand. And so, like, I can almost guarantee that whatever mountain bike you want to ride in Moab, we can find it and we can rent it for you. If you were looking to go mountain biking, maybe in like a Costa Rica or somewhere that's not as known for mountain biking, it becomes a little bit more difficult to fulfill that request. But you can fly with mountain bikes as well. And we have instructed guests on how to do that before. And it's not as painful as it may be. And we've even arranged, as you may think, we've even arranged for like bike mechanics to like for their bike to land in New Zealand, for instance, and have it brought to a local shop and put together so that they're ready to ride on day 2 or whatever it may be.
Yeah, nice. Okay, thank you for that. Do you do cross-country ski trips?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, some ones that stick out. I mean, like very cliche, but like the Von Trapp like family lodge in Vermont is like a super classic family cross country ski experience. We've also, I'm trying to think of where else we've done. Alaska, there's a couple of really cool, unique options there where you can get like a private lodge and they have like a essentially looks like a private track set for you to do cross country skiing. So yeah, no, I love putting on some skinny skis and doing some cross country skiing, and we can put that anywhere. And then like closer to home here in Colorado, like Crested Butte has an absolutely incredible Nordic trail network where we can set people up with, either a hotel or villa or Airbnb rental real close to the trail system and the private instruction and all that.
Nice. Do you only do complete trips, or can you provide an experience just for one day? Oh,
great question.
Yeah.
It sort of depends, but we tend to lean more towards the fully designed itineraries and the complete trips. It becomes sometimes it just gets a little complicated and a little messy to just hop into something like that for just a day. Although we have done it in the right situation, like we have had somebody that was on a yacht in Greenland who wanted us to just arrange for heli skiing one day off of that yacht. And like that made sense and we did that. But for I think like a better example of where we normally don't hop in is if you have a client who's in Costa Rica for a week and they just want to go surfing on a Wednesday. That's normally not our not our forte. We would love to work with you to sell that entire 7-day trip and have the surfing be part of the entire experience.
Perfect. What do you feel sets heli apart from other providers like CMH?
So that's a great question. So this gets a little confusing, but we are for all of you, we are not an operator. So we happen to own 2 ski areas, which I haven't mentioned, right? So we own and operate Silverton Mountain in Colorado, and we also own and operate Great Canadian Heli Skiing in Golden, British Columbia. But aside from that, we are essentially like a DMC or a listing of all the ski areas. So like we sell I just sold the CMH trip yesterday. There's probably like 30 something operators in British Columbia, and we sell all of their trips. And so we specialize in, like I said, looking at the client and figuring out whether they are a good fit for CMH or whether they need to be going to one of the private lodge buyouts in British Columbia, or if they want to go somewhere more remote, and sizing them up with the correct trip. And so we sell everything, and we have like a client first approach. And there's actually a lot of, more often than not, we are like when I have proposals going out the door, they include 3 or 4 heli ski operators, none of which are the ones that we own.
Okay. Is CTS okay for intermediate or more experienced?
CTS?
Yeah. Angie, do you mind dropping one more question in there, just elaborating on CTS?
Yeah.
And while you do that, I will get to another question just because we still have a handful in here. Okay, Angie asks, if you have a down day, perhaps at Deplar, can you provide equipment for other stuff like ice swimming?
Yeah. So Deplar, I'd say, is a good and a bad example there. They can do almost anything that you want to do, and they will do it all in-house as like a fully all-inclusive everything. At other places, it really kind of depends on whether it's the remote Alaska option or something else. But we have facilitated all kinds of like secondary activities for people skiing in British Columbia or skiing in Alaska. And then we also sometimes, you know, like if people are going to go to Alaska to heli ski, we'll also do like a 3-day extension where they'll go, you know, do something else, be in like the Anchorage area, or sometimes be in spring skiing. We've had them go out on a fishing boat for a couple days and then do heli skiing and some of those things. And so there's plenty of ways to, we can definitely bring other activities and other equipment into the activity or into the itinerary where it presents itself.
Awesome. And CTS airport code for New Chitose Airport. I think it's like, is Japan powder, like the Japan powder stuff.
I wasn't thinking that way at all, and I should totally know that because that's the airport that we have for our residency. That's where everybody flies into and out. I just didn't have my brain in airport code mode. So, what was the question around?
Is it okay for intermediate skiers? Or more? Yeah.
So, Japan, not to be real with the agents on here, like Japan is kind of what we call like flat POW. And so like you go to Japan to ski some of the deepest powder of your life and they get just like a tremendous amount of snow. But Japan is not necessarily where you want to go. Perhaps up in the Furano area, it gets outside, it gets a little bit steeper and is a little bit more like where you may be used to, but like Japan is not where you go to do like steep lines like you may see in Alaska videos and skiing deep powder. It's like side country off of the resorts in like rolling hills and like just the deepest powder that you've ever skied. Intermediates for sure.
I have a question about Japan ski, just because it's like first, let me start out with, I don't ski, I après ski pretty well. I can spa like the best, but skiing is a no-go for me. I'm just curious, like, what is realistic for Japan ski in 2025? Like, is it a mess? Are there suppliers out there? Because I'm getting like kind of polar opposite of, you know, it's so hot, it's so popular, it's the place to go, and then it's a mess and you're not going to be able to find a ride and it's not really that great and the lodging isn't that great. So can I have a realistic expectation for luxury travel advisors?
Yeah, so not to tout our own program, but like it took us a couple of months to develop what we just released in those 4 weeks that we have in January and February. All of the things that you were just talking about, Meg, are solved, right? So we have the drivers that can pick people up from the airport and are there with the experience the entire time, and we have the best guides and secured their availability. We've got great lodging right in like the center of the whole scene there. So all that is checked off, and we have those 4 weeks available for sale. And we're selling them for the next week to buy out only. And then we're going to start maybe releasing some of the dates to multiple rooms. We have a tremendous amount of interest on those programs. Elsewhere in Japan, outside of the programs that we've set up, it is definitely busy and just like, I wouldn't say it's a mess, but like just its inventory is the name of the availability is the name of the game. And, I rarely send people to Japan to ski unguided, just because I think it's a lot with the, different language and alphabet and all the things and just like the different place and all those. It's like you can't even read the trail signs in some spots. And so it's like it's helpful to be shown around. And so guides have definitely been a resource that have been hard to come by. Guides and instructors are hard to come by. But there still is lodging. Like we're working a festive opportunity for somebody right now. I think actually they came in through J.MAK, and we're finding some availability there, and we were able to secure the availability for our trips. And so, yeah, there's still availability. There are still trips to be sold. And especially after putting together this 4-week residency, we probably know it better than almost anybody else out there.
Totally.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's get to, Ben, we'll do those last 2 questions. The other ones are we're going to be a little more specific. So, don't worry, because the team will get you guys, everyone that signed up for the webinar, your email address, and you can start having those conversations one-on-one with them. They will love it and appreciate it. This is what we're here for. But Debbie wanted to know a little bit more about fly fishing, which is kind of getting off of the
Oh,
ski
yeah.
path, but talking about those trips. So anything in general that you wanted to highlight?
Yeah, totally. So we have a great. I serve as our fly fishing expert right now on staff. I have a lot of experience in that, especially after working for 11 for multiple years. And we also work with some partners. We have a couple, and I have a couple of like experts slash. They're not on our expert itinerary, but they're kind of like on my network that I call in for assistance on those leads. And so I got a couple of guides. One of them is in Alaska, another one's in Chile, another one's based here in Colorado. And the way that we handle a fly fishing lead right now, which is not super strong in our verticals, is that I lean on that team to understand exactly what the client is looking for and get them to the right place. Fly fishing can get super into the weeds where like, people start talking about streamers versus dry flies versus this versus that versus are we single hand or double hand and all the different things. And so if we get someone who's real serious about fly fishing and not just looking to do it as like a day or two on like a week in Colorado or something, I usually try to involve one of my pros as soon as possible and get them sold into the right spot.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And then the last thing we're going to address is ski safari, which I love. I love
Yes.
talking ski safari. It's more of a European thing for sure than it is here in North America.
Yeah.
So do you want to just kind of touch on that and any highlights of those experiences?
Yeah, I wish that we could get more people in the US interested in ski safari. I love it. I've done it myself. We have great supply through multiple partners over there, and like everything, some of the ski lodges over there are just like over the top. That's kind of like their thing. But you can, ski from France to Italy for a coffee in Italy and then back into France and then ski 4 different resorts in one day. And so, yeah, we have all of that supply. We're working to put more of it on our site. Like actually, I brought a lot of that with me to heli, and it was something that maybe wasn't as much on heli's radar. But I've done multiple of those trips, Switzerland, Italy, France, all of those spots, and can help with all those connections and the lodge rentals and the guides and instructors and all that. It's an incredible product, and it's popular over there for a reason.
Can you even do ski safari in the US, or it's not really a thing, right? Like
You can. No, you can. There's some ways to do it. Like, for instance, like in the Salt Lake area, you can totally link up multiple resorts in a day, and some of them you can even connect to, and do that. But it's just not as like literally on ski safari in Europe, you're like skiing down the trail, and then all of a sudden you hit a sign in the middle of the trail that shows you're about to cross like a Eurozone border from one country to another country, and it's just like, oh, I just crossed from France into Italy, and like that just happened.
It's
And
probably
so,
more like a generationally owned
yeah,
chalet, like, with, the grandma that's been cooking her home cooked meals in, the same spot for decades. So
yeah,
that's what
we got
again, I don't.
those, and we also have like the Michelin star chef, chalets where you're like sitting on a fur rugged, table and everything, and then like over the top. So we have, yeah, both the local options and also like the luxury over luxury, which is super popular there, especially in places like Courchevel and some of the other spots where there's a lot of money.
We'll say from mama style to Michelin, mama to Michelin.
Love it.
Love it. All right, cool. All right, that is gonna be it. I appreciate everyone for being so involved. This was such a great webinar. I mean, you guys have so much to cover, and we understand that. So this is just like a little snippet. We want to put you in touch with the team. We want you guys to like know Tom and Ben super, super well. They're great guys, have so much knowledge in the arena. And just it's really fun to start kind of getting those ideas flowing, start marketing out to your clients. I mean, this could be a whole newsletter. I have so many ideas for you already, and trust they'll follow up with the sales presentation too, guys. If you could send like photos and stuff like that, maybe some itineraries that are super hot.
Sure.
something like that to the travel advisors so they can just throw it out to their database. That would be ideal. But like I said, the team will follow up. Thank you everyone for joining. Tom and Ben, thank you so much for everything. And we'll be in touch.
Thank you, everyone.
all.
Yeah, you know where to reach us. JMAK@heli.life goes directly to my inbox, and I triage it out from there. And so super easy. Thank you so much for the time, and look forward to speaking with a bunch of you.
Yeah.